Right? So today we're gonna move on with our or finish off this project with our last function, and then on the next session, if needed, can be focused on just debugging and just like working out any like issues, or like if just like one thing isn't working in your program, we can just work on that together. But today we'll just be mainly working on the function of the submit order. So before we actually start coding this function, so let's just talk about what it does, right? So for the description of this function, it's pretty much just, it's gonna write down everything that the customer like orders, right? So everything that they choose in the options, it's just gonna take that and it's gonna like save all that information, and then it's going to put it in an order. So it's kind of like put it in an order that'll make it seem kind of like a receipt for the customer. So yeah, that's pretty much the point of this whole function. And the input parameters for this are going to be like what the user selects for their appetizer, their main, and their beverage. And the output is going to just be the image that like, oh wait, no, it's not the image, but it's going to be like calculating everything together and giving them like a subtotal price, a total price, and their tip percent, and all that, right? So first, for the description, we can just write down that's gonna and then for the input parameters, it's just gonna be like when the user selects their food options or choices, and then they click the submit order button, right? And then finally for the output parameters, this is just gonna be like everything that they ordered and everything is calculated. So everything gets calculated and printed out to the user in a div ID. So now we're going back to the div IDs that we used earlier, like in the image. So that's pretty much where we like create a space in our web page to put like a specific like data into. So here we'd be putting down like the total price and everything that the user's like ordering. So we're gonna be printing everything or printing out everything that is calculated for the user in the terms of their order, and putting that into a space on the web page. If you guys remember, or like if you guys go back to the example that I showed you guys earlier when we first started this project, it's going to be looking something like that. So yeah, and then it's gonna be in a receipt format. So yeah, that's like the whole purpose of this function. If you guys have any questions about that, let's get those out of the way right now, and then we can start with the actual coding of this function. But first, I'll just write down like the template. So I'll just start off the function by just typing in submit order. And remember, the first letter of the second word should always be a capital, because we're just going by camel case, which is the correct like typing practice for this. And then parentheses, and then curly braces. All right, does anyone have any questions going into this function right now? All right then, so first we want to get the user's name, right? So for that, we want to create a name variable. And then in this name variable, we want to initialize the variable to the user's inputted name. So do any of you guys remember how to create a variable and then initialize it to a certain value? All right, I'm just gonna put the code so far that we have in the group in the meeting chat, because I think that might be helpful for a few people. But I'll give you guys a few minutes to think about this. Just creating a variable and initializing it to something. How would you do that? All right, so to first create a variable, we're gonna type in let which is just kind of like initializing what kind of variable that you're going to be typing in, and then name as the variable's name, or what you're going to call the variable. And now we want to get the ID of where the user's typing in their name, right? So earlier we should have created a text box for the user's name. I just put name right here so that it shows up on my web page saying name as well. And we want to make sure that it's initialized to type text. And for the ID, I'm going to change this from example to I'm going to change it to name ID, and I'm just going to copy this ID, and then over here, if you guys remember, to get like an actual ID of any variable, we always we have to type in
డబ్బులు బాగానే ఉన్నట్టుంది, ఎక్కడి నుంచి వస్తున్నాయి అర్థం కావట్లేదు.
we have to first type in document get element by ID, and remember, you don't have to type all of it. You'll probably get it in the recommendations right here. So I'm just going to click on that, and remember the ID that we just copied. We're just going to paste that right here. And this is not in the inner HTML. This is a value, right? Because this is a variable. So we're just going to do dot value here instead of the usual dot inner HTML that we've been following right here. Because that's, again, referring to like us putting an image into a div ID. But we're just trying to, over here, we're just trying to get the value from a text box, right? From this text box. So after we get that value, we want to now make another variable. We want to initialize the variable phone, and we want to get the ID of the phone number that the user types in, right? So I don't think I made one yet. So over here, I'm just going to say phone number, and actually, no, that was a button. So I'm going to make the phone number right here. So over here for the phone number, I'm going to just type in for the placeholder code. So what it means by the placeholder is just like what the text box is going to be saying to type in. So it's going to say phone number, and then it's going to just have like a blank text box that has like gray text that says phone number in it. And this is going to be text type, the input type, and for the ID, I'm going to name it phone number ID just to keep things simple. And I'm going to copy that ID, paste it right here, and then do dot value. So I'm going to pause right here for a sec and make sure that you guys all get this. And if you guys need any help on any of this, let me know. So let's just pause for a sec, because I think some people are a little bit behind right now, and then we'll continue. Also, the stuff that you guys are seeing that I'm making like some changes in my head tags, my body tags, is I'm just like making sure that my format is good for the web page, so that like the look looks a little bit cleaner. And yeah. All right, so the next variable that we're going to be creating is a tip variable, right? So if the user gives a tip, we want to get, like, if they give like a percentage for the tip, we want to take that out of the, or add it to the final subtotal. So for that, we're going to be doing let tip equal document dot get element by ID again. So we're just getting what the user types in. And this is just going to be tip ID. Which I did not have here yet. So I'm just going to type that in right now. So I'm going to type in tip percent. And I'm going to make it an input type of text. And then the ID is going to be tip ID. And I'm going to have a placeholder text for this one. So the placeholder text is just going to say enter a percentage between 0 and 100. So that's what the user can like choose for their tip to be like the value of, right? And then I'm also gonna give this, actually no, yeah, let's leave it at that for now. And if we need to make any changes later on, we can come back to this. And right now I'm just gonna also show you guys my webpage and how it looks so far. So if I refresh this, you guys can see that there's an enter percentage between this blah blah for the tip. There's a name text box, there's a phone number text box, and I actually want this to have a break in between. So if I add a BR in greater and less than signs, and then I get back to my web page, where did it go? I'll just get it again. Okay. So now if I refresh, oh, I didn't even save my code. Now if I refresh right here, you can see that since I added a break, this phone number text box is going to be going to the next line. And if I want more breaks in between, I can literally just copy and paste these break tags once again. And then control save to make sure there's no white dot here. So that means all of our code is saved. And then when we refresh, you can see that it's spaced out a little bit better. And I just like how this looks more. And yeah. So that's what yours should be looking like. But I think you guys all have the appetizer, main course, and the beverage done, and the pictures working for all of them, unlike mine right now. So they should all be working, I think. So yeah, right now we can move on with getting the tip ID now, right? So, oh, I forgot to do something for all of these. You have to put these in single quotes so that it takes it in as a text, because that's what we type it in as, right? Right here, it says name ID in these double quotes. Here, we're just going to replace double quotes with single quotes, and we're going to type it in as is. So tip ID in the quotes. And now we're going to do dot value again, because this is from a text box and not like any inner HTML or div ID on the web page, right? So that's why we're going to do it in this way. And then, yeah. So now all we need to do is calculate the price, and also this is where this is going to be coming in, like where we learned parsing and fixing decimal numbers to be corrected in a way that it's like better for the user and the computer to understand. But also, before we do this, I'm going to introduce a new object that you could have on your webpage. I'm not sure that we talked about this earlier, so that's why I'm thinking that it might be new for you guys. So far we talked about a text box and we talked about a button on our webpage, right? But we can also have a checkbox. I think I actually talked about this. Let me know if I'm repeating myself, you guys. But to have a checkbox, we're just going to be, oh, I do have it. We did talk about this, I guess. Yep, it's right here. Okay, so I want to put this at the end. I don't want this at the beginning. That doesn't really make sense. So I'm just going to copy this. And I'm going to put it right after. And I'm going to save and go back to my webpage. Refresh. That looks better. And yeah, so now we're going to be creating a variable for checking if the user clicked checked the is checked box. So if so let's just first create the variable let is checked. So this is just going to be whether the user checked the box for if they want to receive text alerts about their order. So the is checked is going to be initialized just like we did before. So it's going to be initialized to document.getElementBy. And then we're going to be putting the ID that we put here. So I put check ID, and I'm going to be copying that, pasting it into my single quotes. And then here for checkboxes, instead of doing .value or .inner HTML, we're going to be doing .checked. And we're also going to be creating another variable called text alert message, because if the user did in fact click on the checkbox, then we want it to display some kind of message, and if they didn't, we want it to display a different kind of message, right? So all that we want to put into a variable called text alert message. So right now let's create that. So this is the message that's going to be getting outputted whether or not the user selects the checkbox, and it's going to be different depending on whether they did or they didn't. So now we're going to be going back to the if-else statements that we learned earlier. I think it was 2 sessions ago. And yeah, so first we're going to be having an if statement for the case that they did check it. So it's going to say if is checked, curly braces. So if they did check it, then the text alert message is going to be you can just type in like we will text you when your order is ready, something of that sort. You don't have to make it exactly what I'm putting, but that's what I'm going to put. So we will text you when your order is ready. So that's the message that's going to be getting outputted if the user selects the checkbox. So now for the else, which means that they didn't check it, in this context, we're going to have the variable equal or so we're going to have the variable get initialized to you have opted out of text alerts and then orders. And since I don't want this to get out of my screen, just to make it more visually appealing to look at my code and make it more understandable, because I don't want to be like scrolling all the way like this way, right? So I'm just gonna make another line for this, and I'm gonna be plus equaling. So now this is gonna be get like whatever I type in here. So like if I type in R usually ready for pickup in 30 minutes. So now all this is going to be getting added to this variable right here. So first we're initializing this variable to this text, and then we're adding this text onto the end of right here. So it's going to say you have opted out of text alerts. Orders are usually ready for pickup in 30 minutes, not 3 minutes. So that's what it's going to say if it's checked and when it's not checked. But there is a message that I want to always have, whether it's checked or not. So for that, I'm going to be coming out of the if else statement. So now it's always going to do this. Go to this message. So I'm going to be doing plus equals. Please pay for your order in store. So this part right here, so first let's say that the user did check it, so it's going to go to is checked, and it's going to say text alert message. The variable is going to get initialized to we will text you when your order is ready. So since the if is already checked, or since like the if is already like been fulfilled, the condition, it's not even going to go to the else, and it's going to go straight down here to line 107, and it's going to add please pay for your order in store to the text alert message variable, because that's what we put right here, right? We put plus equals. If instead of plus equals and we just put equals, it's going to be getting initialized to we will text you when your order is ready, but then it's just going to get initialized to please pay for your order in store again. So all this is going to get erased. But if we just do plus, it's going to be adding this to that instead. If you guys have any questions so far, just let me know in the meeting chat, or if I need to go a bit slower. All right, so now we're going to be calling a function that we had from earlier. So the calculate subtotal function, we're going to be calling that right now. We need to first calculate the subtotal of everything that the user ordered, and that was the whole purpose of this function. So you guys should have this all finished. I just did the starter code to get you guys started, and also what it's going to be ending by. So yeah, so here we're going to be calling the calculate subtotal function. So after we calculate the total of the user's order, we want to get their tip percent, right? So we have a global variable called tip percent. If you guys go back up, just a sec, I can't find it. Okay, since we're actually gonna have to create it, I think. I don't think we made that a global variable. Yeah, so now we're gonna be creating a variable called let tip percent be initialized to the variable that we do have, which is called just tip, where we get what the user types in, and we want to use the function parse float on it. So I shared with you guys like the slideshow how parse float works, and we did like a whole lesson on that, so this goes back to that. So pretty much what parse float is doing is if the user types in like some kind of text, it's going to be turning that text into a number, because you can't add two texts, right? But you can add two numbers. So that's pretty much what this code right here is doing. So yeah. But after that, we want to get the whole subtotal of their price or their order, right? So for that, we're going to be having to create another variable called tip amount. So let tip amount be initialized to the subtotal float, which is a variable that we made earlier. Should be right here. So we're going to be getting the subtotal float because we initialized the subtotal float to the total price because we added the appetizer price, we added the main price, and we added the beverage price float, which is just everything that they order in the beverages. So we're going to be getting the subtotal here, and we're going to be multiplying this with the tip divided by 100. So here what we're doing is we're just making that the subtotal is the whole cost of the whole order. So that's pretty much what this whole line of code is doing. And we're making sure that the tip amount, we're getting like, okay, so first, we're pretty much just getting the percentage that the user types in from the order, and we're getting that amount of like money from that order, right? So if the user typed in 20% from the total price, we're getting the total price, and then we're calculating what the 20% would be from this. And then after we calculate that, we're just making sure that the tip amount variable is initialized to that value. So now we can get what the total float So we're going to make a variable called total float, and this is going to be including the subtotal float, which is everything that they're buying and all the price, like all the prices calculated for that, plus the tip amount that they're offering. So here I'm once again going to have subtotal float, and I'm going to add this to the tip amount. So if anything that I'm saying right now, you guys think that might be like good for you guys to remember that you can always just type it into comments by doing 2 slashes right above the line, or even like right next to the line. You can just say like adding total price of order with tip amount. And right here, you could also just put like calculating tip amount according to users inputted percentage. So yeah, remember that you can always just make little comments like that as you're coding, and that'll be really helpful. Personally, I would just have these like above, so like right there, because that's just what I would like prefer looking at. So I'm gonna change mine to like that. So yeah, so now that we created all these variables, the last thing that we have to do is pretty much just get everything together, right? We want to make sure that we have the customer's name, the customer's phone, the appetizer price, the main price, the beverage price, the subtotal, the tip amount, and then the total when you add the subtotal and tip amount. So that's everything that we're calculating right now. But we want to make sure that it's in like a receipt format for the user to view. And we also want to show them the text alert message. And then after we get all that into a variable, we want to output that variable into a div ID in the using the .inner HTML and put that onto the actual web page. So the first thing we want to do for that is we want to create a variable for that, right? So we're going to do var order summary, and we're just going to make this initialized to an empty text, empty double quotes. So it's just some text that there's like nothing there so far. And we're going to be creating, or not creating, but we're going to be initializing this variable to the customer's name and the customer's phone first of all. And actually, before we get started with this, Do you guys think that you need more time to just get everything down and all your like code sorted for this beginning part right here? Let me know in the meeting chat if you guys want to like move on or just get like a few minutes to work on that. All right, I just scrolled to the bottom. So if anyone needs any code from down here to make sure that you guys have everything that you need in your own code, you can just check right now. And do you guys want to resume at like 11:53? So like 5 minutes to get all your code sorted out and like up to date to everything that we should be having right now? Or do you guys think that you need more time? Okay, I see that some people are asking for more time. So how about we resume at 11:55? And before that, and during this time, if you guys have any questions, you can always ask me, or also just type into the meeting chat. Also, since we just had 3 people here, I'm just curious, what grades are you guys? Sahasra, Neha, and Diti, I think, right? What grades are you guys? Type it into meeting chat. Oh, that's cool. You guys are like all in middle school, I think, right? Wow, that's really cool that you guys are doing all this in middle school. Because all this material is actually from AP curriculum meant for like 9th to 12th graders. Also, where is your like progress with the projects, you guys? Like, do you think you could present in our next session, or do you think um like you guys need more time? Like, would you like to present your web page at all? First of all, like, are you guys interested in that? Okay. Also, to the person that just commented, I think I can present. What do you want to be called by? Like, Tirumalish? Is that your name? Because I thought that was just like your Gmail or something. Okay. What's your name then? Okay, Sanjit. What about the others? Do you guys also want to present your code? Or I mean, like your webpage? Okay, yeah. Anyone that could present in the next session, they're free to do so. We'll probably be like just all taking turns. But if you guys do need more time, you can just use that whole session to like just work on your code and I can just be helping the whole time. So like the people that want to present, you can present, and if you want to leave, you can leave the meeting. and the people that need more time just working on the project, I'll be right there, and we can like work together and get it all sorted out. And then you can present too if you'd like.
Rushita, do you want me to stop recording?
No, I think we still have some more things to do. I'm just
Okay,
waiting
that's
for
fine.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Sure.
I just had to leave the meeting real quick because my audio was being weird again. But it works now, I think. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's continue now. I need to share my screen again. All right, can you guys see my screen? Okay, thank you for letting me know. All right, so now after we created this variable order summary, which is going to be holding all the values of or all the data of that the user types in, now we're just going to have to be inputting that or initializing all those variables to this variable, or initializing all that information to this variable, not variables. So first, let's type in order summary. So over here, we're just creating the variable, and here we're going to be initializing it. So we're going to do plus equals, because here we already did equals. So here we're just going to do plus equals, and then type in customer name. And we're just going to add the name right here. If that's the name that you guys chose for the variable, that is what I did. So this name variable that we created earlier, we're just going to be adding that on right here, and then I want to put a break tag so that the code goes to the next line. Whatever I type in next, it's going to be going to the next line, and it's not going to get added on to the customer name, just so that it looks a little bit better. And then order summary, we're going to have to type that again. And I want to plus equals the customer's phone. So customer phone. And then I want to add the variable name that we created earlier, phone, and then add the break tags once again. And then a semicolon at the end. And now that we added both the customer name and the phone, which are just the introductory things, now we can move on to the appetizer, the main, and the beverage. So I want to type in order summary again, and then plus equals, and this time I'm going to add in the appetizer price. So appetizer, and then double codes, and then the dollar sign just for like how much money they're spending, right? And then we're gonna do plus, and we had created a variable called app price float, the global variable right here, and we utilized that here in the calculate subtotal. So it should be like, you should be getting like the price of the app price here. So I'm just gonna be taking that variable here, and I'm gonna use the function dot to fixed, and then in parentheses 2, and then plus the break tags once again. So let me just explain this real quick. So what I'm doing with dot to fixed is taking a really long decimal number, and I'm just kind of like, in a way, I guess, fixing the number. So if I take in 15.436252, I'm turning this number into, this shouldn't be 52. This should be, I'm turning this number into 15.44. So like, I'm just like cutting down the number and turning this into, instead of 43, into 44, because 6 is greater than 5. I'm sure you guys all know like what I'm talking about and how that works. So that's pretty much what this dot to fixed to in parentheses function is doing, because we're just going to like the second decimal place and just, yeah, so that's how that works. If you guys have any questions on how that function works, let me know. And if you guys remember, I also talked about W3 schools. You can always find great information on there if you just literally just type in dot to fixed parentheses 2 W3 schools. How does this work? You'll probably get all the information about it. And also, if you have any questions on how to like correctly space things out over here that I couldn't get to today too, you can also just type that into W3 schools. It's a great resource for you guys. So yeah, now we're gonna be doing the same thing with the appetizer, and I'm just gonna copy and paste this because I don't feel like typing all of this. I would recommend that you guys also do that if you don't want to be typing the whole time. So I'm gonna just change this appetizer to main, and this appetizer to beverage, and change this to main, and change the last app price float to bev price float. So now that we're getting all the prices of the items that the user ordered, now we're gonna have to get the subtotal and the tip amount, and then finally the total, which is gonna be the subtotal plus the tip amount. So right here, instead of appetizer, here I'm gonna be putting in subtotal. So that's what I'm typing in here. And the subtotal, we're gonna be getting the variable subtotal float for this, which is another global variable that we created earlier, which is right here. And also, do you guys need a refresher on local and global variables and like the difference and like how they're used? Let me know in the meeting chat, because I think that might have been like a while ago. So if you just like want to go back and like go over that once again, it'll just be like a 2-minute like lesson on that. Yeah, you can just type that in anytime in the meeting chat. I'm just gonna be moving on though right now. If I see that, I'll go back to that. So yeah, and now I want to do the same thing, but for the tip amount. So for the tip amount, we created a variable called tip amount right here, when we were calculating the tip. So this is a global variable, for example. This is a local variable, for example, and these are global variables because they're not inside of a function, so they can be used in any function. But since this is used in, since tip amount is made in this function, we're gonna be using this like only in here. All right, so now that we also have the tip amount, now we just need to calculate the or not calculate, but just get the total, right? So now I'm going to making this equal total. And over here, I'm going to change the app price float variable to total float. And that's pretty much literally like it for like all the price calculations and getting them to appear how we want them to appear. And the final thing that we need to do is order summary plus equals the text alert message, right? So for this message, I want this to appear like a little bit smaller. So I'm going to do greater than and equals greater than and smaller than signs, less than signs, and then do H4 because I want the header tags to be like a little bit smaller. And I'm going to be closing this with a greater than sign, and then I'm going to type in note space, and then I'm going to add the text alert message that we initialized earlier on in the submit order function. And then I'm going to add the tags at the end as well. So H4, but in quotes, my bad, I forgot. So H4, and then semicolon, and finally, after we get everything to like appear how we want it to, now when we refresh and we click right, I forgot to do one more thing. So we had created a button called submit order. So it should be this button right here. We want to make this at the end, and it's going to be a type button, and it's going to say submit order so that the user knows that this is what they're supposed to click once they're done choosing everything that they want to buy. And for the ID, I'm going to put submit button. This doesn't really matter right now, but what does matter is we want to have an on click. So right here, you want to do on click, and here we want to have the submit order function. We honestly could just take this out because we don't need an ID for this, just to keep things looking a little bit more simple. But I do want break tags so that it looks a bit nicer. So right here, I'm adding the submit order function onto the on click. So pretty much what this is doing is when this button is clicked, so on click, the submit order function is going to be taking place. The sequence is going to be going through the algorithm, and that pretty much means that's going to go through all of this code that we just did right now. And then the point is we want it to show all of this onto our web page, right? So let's see if it works. If we select like Alfredo pasta, for example, so if you guys notice, it doesn't like have anything appear when I click submit order. So when I do inspect, I see that there's a bunch of errors. So okay, so before we get to these errors, the reason it's not showing up is because although we like got all these variables to be initialized to all these values, we're not actually assigning it a div ID for it to show up on the web page. So do you guys remember how you do that? We did that when in the select item function, we did it right here. So we're going to be doing a similar thing like that for the submit order function for all this code for all this text to show up on the web page. So how do you guys think that we would do this? Any guesses? Remember, it's really similar to just getting the inner HTML of the pic ID. How we got this like picture to show up right here. All right, so I think I might have forgot how to do that part, but that's fine. So pretty much what we're doing is we're just getting a document dot get element by ID, and then the order summary ID. So we want to create that right here. So to do that, we want to make a div ID after the submit order button. So right after here, we want all the text to show up right here, right? So after this button that we just made and the break tags, we're going to be creating a div ID, which is going to be initialized, or we're just going to call this order summary ID, and then close these tags. And then it just automatically finishes these tags for you. So now we have the div ID. And to these div IDs, we're just going to be adding on, or not adding on, but we're going to be getting back to this ID. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm saying go to where this ID is. And where is this ID? It's right after submit order button. So it's right here. And go to that div ID and do .innerHTML. So we're getting the actual place in the web page. And then make this, or like initialize this to the order summary variable. So that's this. So that's like everything that we just like saying that like we want this to show up on the web page, and we made all of that like be initialized or equal to the order summary variable. We're saying we want all of this to be in the order summary variable, and then we want all of that to be on the web page where the order summary ID is. So now when I control save and refresh, and let's just type in a name, a phone number, 10%. Okay, so we have some errors. Line 123. Oh, okay. I think that's because I just didn't finish off my code. But if we do selected bev equals none, and then we're just going to do bev price float equals 0. And then I'll also have to create like a beverage category in my dropdown. And now I'm going to save this code and refresh. Save this. Five. Okay, so do you guys have everything that I have down so far? I think I have some errors in my calculate subtotal function just because I didn't finish the whole thing. So since we still have 15 minutes, I'm just going to show you guys what it's going to look like when you don't have these. Oh, I think it might be this. Okay, yeah, that was the issue. So what I did was I accidentally created another single quote right here instead of just having the double quotes. So that's why nothing was working. But now let's see what happens if we do this. So now I'm just gonna choose this and then I'm gonna type everything in again. Okay, yeah, I think it's working now. Okay, so there's an issue with these 3 lines of code right here when we're getting the appetizer, the main, and the beverage, but everything else seems to work. So if I just refresh right now and I click submit order. Oh, I didn't save. Okay, so if I type in my name, a phone number, and a tip percent, and I click check for the text alerts, it says it has everything except the subtotal, the tip amount, and the total, which is because we're having issues with these 3 lines of code, which I'll get fixed for the next session. But other than that, this is literally it. Like, I think your code should be working for, like, except these 3 lines. But honestly, for yours, it could be working. It's just because I didn't finish my calculate subtotal function. I just gave you guys the starter code for it. So yeah, but I'll get that finished for the next session, and then we can see exactly where the issue was. And I can also, like, help you guys debug. But other than that, now when we click submit order, we have the customer's name because we're getting the name ID of what they typed in right here. So that's why it says Rushita, because it says that's what the customer's name is, because that's what the user typed in. And then right here for the customer's phone, it's doing the same thing that we did with the name, and it's getting the phone number. But then when we get to, like, the subtotal, tip amount, and total, it's just not calculating it correctly because I didn't finish the function for it, because remember we called the calculate subtotal function right here? So yeah, but because we did click check the checkbox for check if you'd like text alerts about your order, it says we'll text you when your order is ready. But now that I removed the check and I click submit, it changes the text to you have opted out of text alerts. Orders are usually ready for pickup in 30 minutes. Please pay for your order in store, because we used a if else statement for that part to change the message of the text alert message, and we initialized that in the if else statements. So do you guys have any questions about this? I'm so sorry that the end part, like, we can't really like finish it, like, or finalize this project this session right now. And also because a lot of people are missing today, so I don't think we can do that anyways. But next session will definitely be the last session where you guys can show your web pages, and also I'll get this figured out. So in the first 10 minutes, I'll go over like the exact correct code, and then you guys can finalize your project for the next 10 minutes and then show your projects, and then we can go from there if anyone needs help, more help. So yeah, and here's a div ID for the order summary. It's pretty much the same as the other div IDs that we've made. Like right here for the app pick ID, it's the exact same as that. So Sahasra and Sanjit, do you have any questions, guys?
No, I'm good. I just have to double check my code if there's any bugs or anything.
Okay, so do all your pictures show up for the appetizer, main course, and beverage?
Yeah, mine.
Okay.
Same for mine too.
Yeah, so like your images show up, Sahasra?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. Do you have any questions on anything else, guys?
I'm
No.
just checking this code real quick. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, like, my name on this is kind of my sister's name, so my like
Oh,
actual other name is Aishu or
okay,
Aishwarya.
got it.
Yeah, mine isn't working for some reason.
When you click submit order,
Yeah, I can't see the bottom, the tip,
like,
the customer name. Yeah.
okay, so when you double click order summary ID, does this match with this right here? Like what
Hold
you
up, let
typed
me
in here?
check. Order summary ID. No, it does not.
Okay, that might be the issue.
Yeah. Order summary as here.
And then remember to save your code again once you like change it, and then also refresh.
It's still not working.
Okay, wait 1 sec then. Wait, does this match though? The order summary, like right here, does this match with what you typed in? Here?
Wait, I think I mixed it up. Hold up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think now it should work.
Okay, give it another go.
Nope. Doesn't work.
Okay, give me just a sec.
Yep.
Wait, are you able to share your video? I don't think so, right?
Yeah, I'm working on a different computer.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so does order summary right here match with the order summary that you're initializing the document to? Like, are these two the same variables that you're using?
Give me 1 second. Yeah, they're both the same.
Okay, and are you doing .inner HTML?
Yeah.
Okay, and oh, over here, did you initialize it first and then you added everything? Like did plus equals?
Yes, I did.
And this matches, like the order summary ID matches with the div ID right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to like copy and paste like this section of your code, just like the end of it, into the meeting chat?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Um,
Also, Sahasra, do you have any more questions? Because if not, you don't have to stay on the call. Otherwise, like, unless you want to like listen to like how to fix these issues.
I don't have any more.
Okay, you can leave the meeting chat if you want to then. I mean the meeting.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Yep.
now chat. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I just realized I was muted the whole time. I was talking. But I was just saying that I don't need like the beginning, like all this part of your code. Can you just send me like this, like bottom part of your code?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like the order summary plus or minus subtotal until the document by get element by
Yeah. And also the curly brace, just to make sure everything's in the actual function.
Mhm.
And also, do you just want my code so you could compare actually?
Yeah, I think that might be better.
Okay, yeah. Because if you're working on different computers, that's gonna be annoying to like copy and paste everything. Okay, compare your code to that, and then also this end part right here in the body tags.
Yep. Okey-doke.
You can just copy everything that I put in the meeting chat into your actual like VS Code, so that like it's more readable. Cause it's kind of hard to like look at it in the meeting chat, you know. So
Yeah.
okay,
Mm,
but other than that, for our next session, this is literally what we're like pretty much what all we're like gonna be doing, just like working out any issues and also make sure that my program fully works. So yeah.
Okay.
Do you still want to stay on the chat until you fix it, or is it fine if we just like talk
I
about
think we
this?
can work on this next class.
Okay. Thank you for joining.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
I'll be leaving the meeting now, Uncle. Thank you so much for hosting.
Bye, Marushita.
Thank
Happy.
you. Bye.
Bye.